Hey guys, so this is my first ever vlog, a video blog, I guess. Over the weekend I went up to Auckland. The date is the 15th of May 2013, so I went up just over the weekend to Auckland. I live in Wellington, New Zealand, so it's about an hour's flight. So I went up Thursday night, stayed with a friend on the Friday who organises a lot of StarCraft and was organising the events over the weekend. Her name's Alicia, or goes by Rose, so she was very kind to put us up for some accommodation for free, which really made the trip possible. And so on the Friday we just went into the internet cafe, played some practice games, got used to playing not at my desk at home, which is where I'm more comfortable playing. And then we got a bit of an early night, probably went to bed about 11 or 12, because we had to get up quite early in the morning. So there was two events over the weekend. One was an MSI Heart of the Swarm StarCraft 2 tournament that was sponsored by MSI, SteelSeries, Playtech, and run by Company of Gamers, who also go by Barcraft NZ. I'll put a link to their Facebook pages in the comments, in the description, sorry, just if you saw some of the tournament, or if you just want to support them for supporting New Zealand esports. So they did really well. There was a lot of giveaways and stuff, but anyway, I'll skip over that and just concentrate more on the actual StarCraft, because I'm sure if anyone is actually interested in this kind of thing, that's probably what you are interested in. So on the Saturday, I got there at about 8:30 a.m. The tournament was scheduled to start about 10, but didn't really get underway till 11. So I played a couple of games on the ladder, and I was feeling quite good. The chairs and the desks and everything was at a decent level, so I felt quite comfortable there. And I felt quite warm, so I didn't really want to play too many games on the ladder in case I started losing and got a bit into a bit of a tilt or something. So after that, there was a lot of people in Auckland who I haven't seen for a while, I haven't met before, so got to just talk to some of them, and yeah, didn't really do much for probably about an hour or so after I'd set up and played some games until the group stages started. And the group stages was a bit of a walkover. The highest person in my group, apart from me, was Platinum, so I just went 6-0 in the groups and advanced first in my group. And then in the bracket stages, went into double elim from the round of 16. I'm not sure how many of you know much about NZ Esports, but there's a couple of really good players. Frey Petraeus is at the top of GM on NA. He's normally placing around the top 20 on the GM list there, and plays a lot of top players, so he was favoured. He hasn't really had any huge breakout tournaments or anything, just kind of local New Zealand stuff, but he's well respected amongst the SE2 SEA community, and even some of the Americans know him. The other person up there is probably Jazzbaz. He went to BlizzCon 2011, and he went to WCS Oceania, and he's always been placing high in New Zealand tournaments. He's probably the most famous New Zealander. So those two were probably the favourites. Then behind them was Crimson, who's also an Iris. He's a very good player. And then I was probably around top, maybe fourth, kind of going into this tournament. And so my really first tough matches would probably be the semi-finals, and I did get to the semi-finals quite easily. I just 4-0, 2-0'd in the round of 16, 2-0'd in the round of 8. The round of 16 was PvP, and I played quite a long PvP game, about 34 minutes I think, or 35 minutes on Belcher Vestige, and it was quite a frustrating game. He opened DTs, and I got an observer out and expanded okay, but he'd done the DT fast expand build, so he was probably even economy, so it just went into the mid game. And although I was kind of doing a lot of damage to Zealot Warpins, he'd always clean them up with DTs and snipe observers if I sent them over there, so it was a bit of a frustrating game, and I got a bit nervous at some points, because I find I get quite nervous against players who I think I'm better than, because if I lose to them, then I feel pretty shitty, but if I lose to someone like Petraeus, then I feel it's kind of a good way to lose. So I did end up winning that game, and then the next game he just did a gritty DT build, which I've punished quite easily. The round of 8 was against a teammate who's an academy member from Iris, so he played okay, but I did take the 2-0 fairly easily. So my first kind of really tough match was against Betrayus, who was the favourite for the tournament. Game 1 was on Auckland Wastes, or I think that's the name of the map, yeah, the desert map, and I just kind of played quite standard. I faked a 4-gate pressure, so he kind of overmade units, and I just ticked up behind it, so I was in a bit of an advantage and just took my third off of it. And then got up to just kind of, he went for swarm hosts into hive, and so I kind of went for a timing with stalkers and colossus, and whether through luck or just good design, probably a bit of both, I had it a good timing, but I was also a bit lucky. I managed to hit just before he got ultralists out, so I did manage to take that first game, which I felt really good about. But the next two games, the next game I tried to do the 4-gate after gate expand, and he'd just gone early speed and just shut it down really badly, and so I was quite far behind. And I went into a 6-gate immortal. I was going to go up to Colossus to do the 2 immortal, 2 Colossus all in, but he'd gone for mutas, so I tried to hit a bit earlier, and it just didn't work out, and he completely shut it down. Then the next game I tried to go just for the Forge Fast expand into 2 immortal, 2 Colossus all in. He scouted it and just really shut me down hard again, so I was happy to take that first game, but the next 2 games were really one-sided, and he just really played a lot better than me. I kind of felt, whenever I lose after doing an all-in, I always feel a bit, kind of like a bit of regret. Oh, I should have played macro or whatever, but I think that probably would have gone worse, unless I got a bit lucky or threw him off. I don't think he was going to fall for the kind of 4-gate mind games again. But anyway, he was the favourite for the tournament, so dropping 2-1 to him wasn't the worst. Then in the loser bracket, I played a couple of easy matches before getting to Jazzbaz, and I ended up losing to him as well, 2-0. I didn't play the best, but he played very well, so well deserved to him. So I ended up coming 4th, which wasn't too bad, but it was kind of one spot out of the big prizes. If I came 3rd, there's a Steel Series headset, a Steel Series mouse, and a couple of other things, so I was a bit sad about that, but 4th was pretty good. I thought that I was probably the expected to come 4th, and I did come 4th, so nothing to be sad about, but nothing to be excited about kind of thing. And Jazzbaz and Betrayus did end up coming 1st and 2nd, the players I lost to, and I was actually the only player to take a game off Betrayus that whole day, so I guess that's something to take away from it. But anyway, we just went home after that, and I was pretty exhausted. We all had not the best sleeps. Not that that's a reason for losing or an excuse or anything. I tend to do quite well off little sleep. I can deal with it okay, but after the tournament games were over, I kind of crashed a bit, and so we didn't really do anything that night. And then the next morning we got up reasonably early again and went off to the next tournament. And at this tournament again, the group stages were a bit of a wash, so I just went 6-0 in the groups, and then had some easy rounds in the bracket, and before I eventually played Betrayus again in the semi-final. This time it was only a single elim, so I really had to win or kind of settle for 3rd or 4th, and the games were just not my best. I think it just really showed that he's kind of a really high level player, and I'm just kind of not quite there yet, so he did 2-0 me. I can't quite remember the games. I think one of the games he went for muta, I think, corrupt a muta, and I just fell apart. I think that's what happened. And the other game, I killed the rocks on Auckland Waste to take my 3rd, and I just didn't quite have enough units and didn't force fill perfectly, and he just ran Lings in because he was doing the 2-base ultra build, or 3-base ultra build after going 2-base Ling upgrades, and he just killed me right there, so not the best way to lose. Then the 3rd and 4th playoffs, my head wasn't really in it, and made a lot of stupid mistakes. I think I lost the first game. I had my army on move command for 3 or 4 seconds in the first big battle, and you're never going to come back from that. And then the next game I got my Nexus blocked after doing a gate expand, so I just 4-gated off one base and was never going to win that. So I did come fourth, and there was a small monetary prize for that, but nothing significant. So all in all, I came fourth twice. It was quite a competitive tournament. There was maybe 10 or so Masters players, with Jazbaz and Betrayers being GM on NA. So I think I did okay. I came about where I expected, so nothing to be excited about, but I'm not disappointed in any way. And it was a good weekend. Got to see a lot of people, so yeah, great time. And yeah, I think that's about all. So again, there's the links down the bottom. On the Saturday, Playtech hosted the tournament at their store. They have kind of an upstairs, I guess, staff area where they set up desks, and they had their computers there, which were really good computers, and their monitors were very high quality as well. And MSI had a lot of notebooks, laptop, I think they're called notebooks nowadays, on display there, some really high quality ones. And the first prize was actually a laptop, which Betrayus won, which is a great prize. And Steel Series had a lot of mice and headsets on display there, and a lot of prizes there. And I think there was the three main sponsors. I'll link their Facebooks in the description. Barcraft NZ, or they currently go by Company of Gamers, they ran both tournaments very well. So big shout out to them. They do a lot for New Zealand esports. Well, they're kind of the only people doing a lot for New Zealand esports. And so yeah, they did great, and I'll link their Facebook in there. They run quite a few tournaments. They run online tournaments as well. So if you're in New Zealand and you want to play some tournaments, even if you're not the best player, there's still a lot of players around lower leagues that sign up for those, and their LAN events generally have BSGs and GPDs or whatever, the lower league tournaments. So yeah, thanks for watching, and yeah, I think that's all. So cheers.